For Eddie to say he had to show him what to play and had to teach him all those songs, that is the biggest line of bullshit I've ever heard in my life.
Behind Van Halen's exciting music, crazy stage shows, and public arguments, one person kept everything together, quietly and powerfully, often sacrificing more than fans knew. His story went beyond playing bass and singing backup. It included tests of loyalty, lost credits, and a betrayal found out online instead of through a phone call. In this little-known part of rock history, you will discover how Michael Anthony's bass playing supported the band, even when he wasn't in the spotlight. One moment changed everything, and it didn't happen on stage. Prepare yourself, because what you are about to learn might change how you see Van Halen. Early musical foundation. Michael Anthony grew up surrounded by music, primarily through his father, Walter Sobolewski, who played the trumpet. Listening to his father practice and perform inspired Michael, and led him to explore music himself. As a child, he learned to play the trumpet and developed a strong interest in music by joining different music programs during his school years. In the mid-1960s, Michael's family moved to Southern California. He attended Dana Junior High School in Arcadia and joined the school's marching band. This experience helped him improve his musical skills and learn the importance of teamwork and discipline. Although Michael loved playing the trumpet, he became interested in rock music at 13. He switched to bass guitar to stand out from his friends, who primarily played the guitar or drums. A friend, Mike Hershey, lent him a Fender Mustang guitar, which Michael turned into a bass by removing 2 strings. This was a key moment in his musical journey as he committed to learning the bass. Recognizing his dedication, Michael's father bought him a Victoria copy of a Fender Precision bass and a Gibson amplifier, which helped him improve as a musician. Michael admired great bassists like Jack Bruce, John Paul Jones, and Harvey Brooks. Even though he was naturally left-handed, he learned to play with his right hand, showing his adaptability. These early experiences and regular practice formed a strong foundation for his skills and ear for music, which became important during his time with Van Halen. Just as he was improving, an opportunity came to change rock music forever. From Snake to Van Halen. In the early 1970s, Michael Anthony was heavily involved in the Southern California music scene. He played with various local bands before joining one called Snake. This power trio mixed hard rock with blues influences. Anthony played bass and also sang lead vocals. Snake mainly performed cover songs but also tried out original material. This allowed Anthony to improve his performance skills in front of live audiences. The band played at school dances, local festivals, and clubs, which helped them build a modest following in Pasadena and Arcadia. During this time, Anthony realized he wanted to pursue music as a career. The local music scene in the San Gabriel Valley served as an essential networking space. It wasn't long before Snake met another upcoming band called Mammoth, which included brothers Alex and Eddie Van Halen. The two bands often shared venues, and one night, Snake opened for Mammoth at Pasadena High School. When Mammoth's public address system failed, Anthony offered Snake's equipment so the show could go on. This kind act impressed the Van Halen brothers and sparked the idea for a future collaboration. Around this time, Mammoth was also facing changes. Their bassist, Mark Stone, had just left the band, creating an opening. Eddie and Alex remembered Anthony from earlier performances and invited him to jam with them to see if they had musical chemistry. The jam session, held in a garage, went well. Anthony's energetic bass playing and strong backing vocals were precisely what the band needed. Impressed by the synergy, the Van Halen brothers quickly invited him to join their band as the new bassist. Soon after, they changed their name from Mammoth to Van Halen because another band had already claimed the name Mammoth. This new name highlighted the identity of the two brothers and marked a new chapter for the band. The classic lineup was formed with David Lee Roth on vocals, Eddie on guitar, Alex on drums, and Michael on bass. This marked the start of one of the most famous rock bands of the late 20th century. For Anthony, joining Van Halen was more than just a band change. It was a launchpad for an international career that would change his life. Band dynamics. In the mid-1970s, Michael Anthony became an essential part of Van Halen's classic lineup as the band played in Los Angeles clubs like Gazzarri's and the Whiskey A Go-Go. His energy and vocal harmonies stood out. His high-pitched backing vocals became a key feature of the band's sound, balancing David Lee Roth's lead vocals and helping shape their unique rock music style. Anthony's straightforward bass playing provided a solid foundation for Eddie Van Halen's dynamic guitar work and Alex Van Halen's powerful drumming, allowing the band to perform with precision and a raw edge. When Van Halen released their debut album 1978 with Warner Brothers Records, Anthony's musical skills shone through. His bass lines created the rhythmic backbone of songs like Runnin' with the Devil and Ain't Talkin' About Love. His background vocals added depth to hits like Jamie's Cryin' and Feel Your Love Tonight. The album became a commercial success, and critics praised Anthony's harmonies for their power and melody. Anthony remained steady as the band gained fame and toured hard to support their albums. He built a reputation for being reliable and easy to work with amid the more volatile dynamics of the other members. At first, Anthony shared equally in the band's finances, including profits from album sales, tours, and merchandise. Ex-manager Noel Monk noted that he was responsible for 20% of the band's debts and income, and took part in critical business decisions during the early years. However, as the band's popularity grew and power struggles arose, the financial situation shifted in favor of the Van Halen brothers and Roth, changing Anthony's share of income and ownership rights. Despite these challenges, Anthony stayed loyal to the music and the band's progress. He contributed to Van Halen's development from the late 1970s into the early 1980s, enjoying multi-platinum success while continuing to tour and record with them. His playing remained steady and professional despite rising tensions among the other members. By the time of Fair Warning and Diver Down, Anthony had established himself as a crucial part of the band's rhythm section. His contributions, especially in vocals, were key to shaping the band's live performances and recordings. While Eddie dazzled audiences with his guitar skills and Roth grabbed attention, fans and critics began to see Anthony as a vital support for the musical unity of one of rock's most exciting acts. By 1984, Van Halen had become one of the most successful rock bands, thanks to their album 1984, which featured hits like Jump, Panama, and Hot for Teacher. However, tensions within the band were growing, especially for bassist Michael Anthony. Former manager Noel Monk reported that during the 1984 tour, Anthony felt pressured by Eddie and Alex Van Halen and David Lee Roth to sign away his future songwriting credits and royalties. This controversial agreement was given to him just hours before a concert, with his bandmates watching as he signed. The contract was retroactive, meaning he lost rights to the 1984 album, leading to significant financial losses. Despite this unfair situation, Anthony remained professional and did not publicly criticize his bandmates for many years. Eventually, he spoke about the incident, saying that his desire to help the band motivated his choice to sign. This situation showed the internal struggles within Van Halen and how key members can lose creative control in the music industry. Eddie Van Halen's criticism. After Van Halen peaked in popularity, Michael Anthony noticed a change in how people recognized his contributions to the band, especially from Eddie Van Halen. Eddie began to downplay Anthony's role in interviews, suggesting that Anthony did not have the skills typical of a professional bassist. In a 2015 interview with Billboard, Eddie claimed that he had to teach Anthony every note, which upset many fans and musicians who felt these comments were unfair and inaccurate. Anthony responded by stating that he had always learned the band's songs independently and that there was no evidence of Eddie teaching him. He found Eddie's public criticism hurtful, particularly since they had been close for many years. This affected Anthony's professional reputation, as new fans began questioning his abilities despite his long history of performances. Rather than publicly argue, Anthony admitted that the growing distance between him and Eddie hurt their relationship, which had weakened by the mid-2000s. After Eddie died in 2020, Anthony felt regret that they never had a chance to fix their issues. He had hoped to reconnect and find closure, but that opportunity was lost. This situation shows how ego and misunderstandings can damage even great partnerships. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, Anthony's contributions were quietly erased. The decline of Anthony's role. By the late 1990s, Michael Anthony's role in Van Halen was starting to fade. During the 1998 recording of Van Halen III, he played bass on only 3 of the 11 tracks, and Eddie Van Halen took over bass duties for the other songs. Although Anthony continued to tour with the band, fans began questioning his place in the group. In the early 2000s, Anthony's visibility in the band kept declining. When Van Halen released the 2004 compilation album The Best of Both Worlds, he only provided backing vocals for the new songs. This added to the feeling that he was being sidelined as Eddie and Alex Van Halen took more control over the band's music and business. His last tour was in 2004, reuniting with Sammy Hagar, but there was tension. Anthony had to accept a lower salary and a contract that treated him like a hired musician instead of a full member. In 2006, Eddie Van Halen named his son Wolfgang as Anthony's replacement. Anthony learned about this change through rumors instead of a direct conversation. He later said he felt blindsided and hurt. After years of loyalty to the band, he was not given a call to discuss this change. Losing his position in the band was emotional, reflecting the weakening of his relationships with Eddie and Alex Van Halen. Canceled reunion tour. After Eddie Van Halen died in 2020, people became interested in organizing a tribute tour to honor him. In 2021 and 2022, drummer Alex Van Halen tried reaching out to former band members like Michael Anthony and David Lee Roth to discuss a reunion. They considered having Joe Satriani as a possible replacement guitarist. However, disagreements among them slowed down the plans, mainly because Roth did not agree with some tribute ideas, which caused tension. Alex's declining health complicated things, including a back injury in 2022, which made it unlikely for him to participate. While Michael Anthony wanted to join, emotional and logistical challenges made it difficult. Ultimately, the reunion was impossible, leaving Anthony without closure with his old bandmates. Fans felt disappointed as their hopes for a united farewell faded, marking the end of any realistic chance for a Van Halen tribute. Valerie Bertinelli's biopic opposition. Valerie Bertinelli, actress and former wife of Eddie Van Halen, does not support any biopics about the legendary guitarist or the band Van Halen during her lifetime. In a 2023 interview, she asked her son, Wolfgang Van Halen, to make sure she was dead before such a film is made. She wants to protect Eddie's memory from Hollywood's potential distortions of his complex life, especially regarding his struggles with addiction, which deeply affected their family. Valerie's opposition comes from her experiences during their marriage from 1981 to 2007. She finds dramatizing their difficult moments too emotionally hard to handle. While jokingly suggesting that Selena Gomez could play her, she hoped the singer would refuse the role. Wolfgang also discussed the pressure of being Eddie Van Halen's son and spoke out against those who exploit his father's legacy for personal gain. He prefers to honor Eddie through his music instead of dramatized stories, matching Valerie's wish for a respectful and low-key remembrance of their family's history. Both Valerie and Wolfgang are still healing from Eddie's death in 2020. They believe a biopic could reopen old wounds. While Valerie wants to protect the past, Wolfgang aims to shape a respectful future for his father's legacy. Meanwhile, Wolfgang is concentrating on his music with Mammoth WVH, where he writes and performs everything himself. Although the future of the Van Halen name is unclear, Wolfgang is dedicated to managing any potential projects respectfully and thoughtfully.